Silver is about to make a move that nobody saw coming. And if you've been sitting on the sidelines, wondering whether now is the right time to pay attention to precious metals, let me tell you something right now. The time is not coming. The time is already here. Silver has surged past the $87 mark as of Monday morning, and the financial world is buzzing with a level of excitement and anxiety that we haven't seen in this market for quite some time. But before you let the headlines either excite you into making a reckless decision or scare you into doing absolutely nothing, I want you to slow down with me for just a moment. Because what's happening in the silver market right now is not just a number on a screen. It is a story, a deep, layered, and incredibly important story. And every single person who owns silver, who is thinking about owning silver, or who simply wants to understand where the global economy is headed, needs to hear this story from start to finish. So in this video, we're going to separate what's real from what's just hype. By the end, you'll walk away feeling calmer, clearer, and far more confident about what you're actually buying, and more importantly, why you're buying it. Drop a comment below and let me know the exact day and date you're watching this from. I love seeing where and when you're tuning in. And real quick, if you appreciate content that's built from scratch, thoughtfully researched, and never copied, support the channel by subscribing and commenting Henry's Market HQ below. It helps this channel grow more than you think, and I truly appreciate it. Now let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about this. When was the last time you watched an asset climb with this kind of consistency, this kind of raw, undeniable strength, and this kind of broad-based market support, all at the same time? Because silver is not just spiking on a rumor. It is not just jumping because of one headline or one tweet or one analyst's bold prediction. Silver is moving because the fundamental forces that drive precious metals higher are all lining up at the exact same moment. And when that happens, the results can be nothing short of extraordinary. This is the kind of market environment that separates the investors who are truly paying attention from the ones who will look back 6 months from now and ask themselves why they didn't act when all the signs were right in front of them. Let's start at the beginning, because to truly understand where silver is going, you have to understand where it has been and what has been quietly building beneath the surface. Silver did not wake up on Monday morning and decide to explode past $87 out of nowhere. This move has been building for days. Multiple trading sessions of consistent, impressive gains that have been stacking on top of each other like bricks in a wall. Each session, silver pushed higher. Each session, more investors took notice. Each session, the momentum grew stronger, and the conviction behind the buying became deeper and more serious. That is not the behavior of a speculative bubble. That is the behavior of a market that is responding to something real, something structural. Something that goes far beyond the day-to-day noise that most people get distracted by. Think about what silver actually is for a moment. It is not just a shiny metal that people put in a safe or display in a collection. Silver is one of the most versatile and industrially essential commodities on the planet. It is used in solar panels, in electric vehicles, in medical equipment, in electronics, in semiconductors, in virtually every cutting-edge technology that the modern world depends on and that the future world will demand even more of. The industrial demand for silver is not shrinking, it is growing, and it is growing fast. At the same time that industrial demand is rising, the investment demand for silver is also surging because people all around the world are waking up to the reality that the financial system they have trusted for decades is showing some very serious cracks. And when people feel that kind of uncertainty, when they look at their savings, look at the stock market, look at the currency in their wallet, and start to wonder whether any of it is as safe as they once thought, they turn to silver, they turn to gold, they turn to real, tangible, physical assets that have held value through every single financial crisis, every war, every economic collapse, and every political upheaval in the history of human civilization. And right now, that turn is happening in a very big way. The surge past $87 is not the ceiling. For many serious analysts and longtime precious metals investors, that number is not a warning sign to sell. It is a confirmation signal to pay even closer attention. Because when silver breaks through a major price level with this kind of momentum behind it, history tells us that the next move is rarely a quiet drift back down. History tells us that breakouts like this one are often the beginning of something much larger, much more powerful, and much more life-changing for the people who were positioned correctly before the crowd caught on. The question you need to be asking yourself right now is not whether silver is moving. It clearly is. The question you need to be asking yourself is whether you are going to be the person who recognized this moment for what it truly was, or the person who watched it happen from a distance and wished they had paid closer attention when it mattered most. This is your moment to get informed. This is your moment to think clearly, act wisely, and position yourself on the right side of one of the most significant moves in the precious metals market in recent history. Stay with me, because what comes next in this story is where things get truly extraordinary. Now that you understand the foundation of what has been driving silver's incredible momentum, I need to take you deeper. Because the real story, the part that most people are not talking about, the part that has serious investors quietly leaning forward in their chairs and paying very close attention, is what is about to happen next. And I want you to brace yourself here, because what I am about to walk you through is not speculation. It is not fear-mongering. It is not some dramatic prediction designed to get clicks and views. What I am about to share with you is a convergence of real, documented, market-moving events that are all colliding at the exact same moment in time. And the implications for silver's price over the coming days, weeks, and months are nothing short of staggering. So if you have been half watching this video while doing something else, I need you to stop right now, put everything else aside, and give me your full attention, because this is the part that changes how you see this market entirely. Let's talk about China. For over a week, China's silver markets have been completely shut down, closed, silent. Not a single trade, not a single order, not a single movement in one of the most powerful and influential silver trading markets on the entire planet. The reason is simple. China observed their national holiday, and during that time, their financial markets went dark. Now, here is where the suspense truly begins to build, because while China was closed, the rest of the world kept trading. Silver kept climbing, the momentum kept growing, and all of that price action, every dollar of that surge past $87, happened without China even being at the table. Think about that for a moment, and let it fully sink in. One of the single largest consumers and traders of silver in the world has been completely absent from this rally, and silver still broke through to levels that shocked the market. So now ask yourself the most important question of this entire conversation. What happens when China comes back? What happens when Chinese traders and investors log back into their systems, look at their screens, and see that silver has made an enormous move while they were away? What happens when the buying pressure from one of the world's most powerful economies re-enters a market that is already surging with momentum and conviction? The answer to that question is something that every silver investor, every precious metals watcher, and every person with any stake in the global financial system needs to be prepared for, because China's return to the silver market tomorrow is not just a footnote. It is potentially the single biggest catalyst this market has seen in a very long time, and it could send silver in either direction with tremendous force and speed. That uncertainty, that electric, tension-filled uncertainty, is exactly what makes this moment so critical and so unlike anything we have seen in recent memory. On one hand, Chinese demand flooding back into the market could pour jet fuel onto an already blazing fire, pushing silver to levels that would have seemed completely unthinkable just a few weeks ago. On the other hand, if Chinese investors decide to take profits after seeing how far silver has already run in their absence, we could see a sharp and sudden correction that shakes out the weak hands and tests the resolve of everyone who has been riding this wave higher. Either outcome is possible. Both outcomes carry enormous consequences, and the only way to navigate a moment like this with any degree of confidence and clarity is to understand the full picture, which is exactly what we are building together right now. But China is only one piece of this puzzle, because at the exact same time that Chinese markets are preparing to reopen, another massive force is actively reshaping the global financial landscape. And that force has a name, and that name is tariffs. Former President Donald Trump has once again escalated tariffs on a broad range of goods, and the impact of that decision is rippling through every corner of the global economy. Trade tensions are rising, supply chains are being disrupted, business confidence is shaking, and perhaps most importantly for silver investors, the United States dollar is weakening in a very significant and very telling way. Now, if you are new to precious metals investing, here is something you absolutely must understand. The relationship between the US dollar and silver is one of the most consistent and reliable relationships in all of financial markets. When the dollar weakens, silver strengthens. It is not a coincidence. It is not random. It is a deeply rooted, historically proven dynamic that plays out time and time again across different economic cycles, different political environments, and different global conditions. A weaker dollar means that silver, which is priced in dollars on the global market, becomes cheaper for buyers in other countries, which increases international demand, which pushes the price higher. It is a chain reaction that has been set in motion, and right now, every link in that chain is moving in silver's favor. The fear and uncertainty that is currently gripping global financial markets is real, and it is spreading. Investors who once felt secure in their stock portfolios are now questioning their exposure. People who trusted in the stability of fiat currencies are now looking for something more dependable, more permanent, more proven. And what they are finding, what millions of people around the world are rediscovering right now, is that gold and silver have always been there. Through every storm, through every collapse, through every moment of economic chaos and political instability, precious metals have endured. They have preserved wealth, they have protected purchasing power, they have given people a foundation of financial security when everything else around them was crumbling. Silver has now climbed to become the second highest asset in the world by market capitalization, sitting just behind gold. And that is not a small statement. That is a declaration from the market itself that silver belongs at the top of the conversation, and that the people who recognized its value early are being rewarded in a way that is visible to the entire world. Everything we have covered so far, the explosive surge past $87, the return of Chinese markets, the weakening dollar, the escalating tariffs, the global fear and uncertainty driving investors toward safe haven assets, all of it has been building toward this final and most important part of the conversation, because understanding what is happening in the silver market right now is only half the battle. The other half, the more important half, is understanding what it means for you personally, what it means for your financial future, and what the smartest, most informed, most forward-thinking investors in the world are actually doing in response to everything unfolding around them. And I want to be very clear about something before we go any further. This is not a video designed to make you panic. This is not a video designed to push you into making a rash, emotional, fear-driven financial decision that you will regret later. This is a video designed to give you clarity, real, honest, grounded clarity, so that whatever decision you make from this point forward, you make it with your eyes wide open, your mind fully informed, and your confidence completely intact. Because that is what separates the investors who build lasting wealth from the ones who constantly chase the market and always seem to arrive just a little too late. Let's talk about the bigger picture, because silver's rise to the second highest asset in the world by market capitalization is not just a statistic. It is a signal. It is the market speaking in the clearest language it knows, telling anyone who is willing to listen that the value of silver is being recognized on a scale that goes far beyond the individual investor sitting at home watching charts on a screen. Institutional investors are paying attention. Sovereign wealth funds are paying attention. Central banks around the world, which have been accumulating gold at record levels over the past several years, are now casting a much closer eye on silver as well. And when the biggest, most powerful, most well-resourced financial entities on the planet start moving in a particular direction, it is rarely a coincidence, and it is almost never a short-term trade. These are long-term, strategic, conviction-based moves made by people who have access to information, analysis, and market intelligence that most ordinary investors will never see. And right now, those moves are pointing directly at precious metals, with silver standing tall right alongside gold as one of the most compelling and most relevant assets in the entire global financial landscape. Now let's bring this home on a deeply personal level, because I think it is critically important that we talk not just about what silver is doing, but about what silver has always represented throughout human history, and why that representation matters more today than it has in a very long time. Silver has been used as money, as a store of value, and as a medium of exchange for thousands of years across virtually every major civilization on Earth. It has outlasted empires. It has survived the collapse of currencies. It has held its value through wars, depressions, hyperinflation, and every other form of financial catastrophe that history has thrown at the human race. And every single time the world has gone through a period of deep uncertainty, every single time people have looked around and felt that the ground beneath their financial lives was less stable than they once believed, silver has been there, quiet, patient, and enduring, waiting for the moment when the world remembers what real value actually looks like. And right now, the world is remembering. Right now, millions of people across every continent, every culture, and every economic background are waking up to the reality that paper promises and digital numbers on a bank screen are not the same thing as owning something real, something tangible, something that cannot be printed into existence by a central bank or wiped out by a server failure or a government policy decision. Silver is real, and in a world that is increasingly uncertain, increasingly digital, and increasingly fragile, real things carry a premium that only grows more powerful with time. But here is what I really want you to take away from everything we have discussed today. And this is the part that I believe with every fiber of my being, because I have studied these markets, watched these cycles, and seen firsthand what happens to the people who stay informed versus the people who tune out until it is too late. The greatest financial opportunities in history have never announced themselves with a parade and a spotlight. They have always shown up quietly, dressed in uncertainty, and wrapped in headlines that made most people feel nervous rather than excited. The people who built real, generational wealth through precious metals were not the ones who waited for everyone else to feel comfortable before they acted. They were the ones who did the work, understood the fundamentals, recognized the moment for what it truly was, and had the courage to position themselves before the crowd arrived. And right now, right at this very moment in time, we are standing at exactly that kind of crossroads. Silver has already made a historic move. But if the fundamental forces we have discussed today continue to align the way they are currently pointing, the move we have seen so far may only be the opening chapter of a much longer and much more powerful story. So what should you do with all of this? You keep learning, you keep paying attention, you keep asking the right questions and demanding honest, well-researched answers. You think long-term when everyone else is thinking short-term. You stay calm when the market gets loud and emotional. You build your financial knowledge the same way silver has built its value, steadily, consistently, and with an unshakable foundation that no amount of market noise can erode. Because at the end of the day, the most valuable asset you will ever own is not silver, not gold, not any commodity or stock or piece of real estate. It is your own financial education. It is your ability to look at a complex, fast-moving, emotionally charged market and see it clearly for what it is. That is the edge that changes everything. That is the edge this channel is committed to giving you every single time we show up with a new video. If you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early.